Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us on the Sustainability Series, our mini webinar series that explores conscious consumerism in e-commerce. In each episode, we'll be talking to a guest partner about how offering your customers a sustainable shopping experience can create community, inspire action, and drive loyalty. So really excited for this one. To keep these episodes as quick and as insightful as possible, we don't hold any sort of Q&A. However, if you do have any questions for myself or our panelists here today, please feel free to tweet us at LoyaltyLion HQ using the hashtag sustainability series, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. So, as way of introduction, my name is Jack. I'm a tech partnership manager at LoyaltyLion, and today is a really special episode because I do not have one but two guests joining me here today. And to start us off, we have Percasky from Better Packaging and Mark Cooper from Starshipit. Becs, I'm going to start with you. Would you mind telling the audience a little bit about yourself and about Better Packaging?
Absolutely. Thanks, Jack. I'm Becs. I'm one of the co-founders of the Better Packaging Co. We're on a mission to use packaging as a force for good, to combat pollution, poverty, and climate change. We realise that it's not enough just to reduce your environmental impacts. We need to be doing a whole lot more, and that's using packaging to actually make positive impact.
Perfect. Thank you. And Mark, over to you. What can you tell us about yourself and about Starshipit?
Thanks, Jack. Yeah, I'm Mark Cooper. I'm the sales and partnerships manager for Starshipit in the UK and Europe. I joined Starshipit back in 2019, and we provide shipping automation for e-commerce customers. So we sit in between the e-commerce platforms, around about 60 plus platforms, and a whole bunch of different carriers, produce all of the labels and automate the whole shipping process.
Brilliant. Thank you. And it's so wonderful to have you both on here because so many of these questions correlate to both of the services that you guys provide. And really that connects us into the first question that we want to ask today, which is what should the number one priority for a brand who's thinking about changing its packaging and courier providers to be more sustainable ones think about? And Becs, would you mind kicking us off with this?
Sure. I will start by saying that sustainability is a journey, and it's an incredibly complex subject, and there's so many layers to it. And the more you actually dig into it, the more you realize that it's not cut and dry. So if I was choosing a brand to partner with, and this isn't in any part of your business, and you're looking for a sustainability angle, I'd be really looking at those brands that are on a journey, and they're not pretending to know it all or have all the answers, and they're really upfront about that journey, and they communicate it really well. And you see that with some of the more brands that are on the further on their sustainability journey. You see that they're really talking about where they're going and where they've been and some of the mistakes they've made, so that they will take you on that journey with them.
Oh, that's really interesting. Almost keeping it like-minded. I think sometimes it can be challenging for the customers that listen to this podcast and the customers that work with LoyaltyLion to think about it. It's such a big problem. So trying to find people that are going to work with you is definitely a good place to start. Thank you so much. Okay, brilliant. And then moving forward, Mark, what are your thoughts on the same question?
Yeah, I mean, a good example for us, for our sort of advice would be to look at the carrier, for example. In the UK, we have got quite a rich sort of heritage of couriers, and I actually live near the airport, so I see a lot of the vehicles, all the different options that you've got, and I would sort of recommend a retailer looking at the courier's mission around sustainability. DPD is a fantastic example. They have their mission is to be the greenest delivery company on the planet by building the largest fleet of electric vehicles, and they're doing it. They're doing it. That's their mission statement. So that's a fantastic kind of flag for good. And also UPS, they also have a carbon neutral shipping option. So any carriers that have got these kind of mission statements, and it's easy to look on their website and just check out to see how they behave as a group.
Interesting. And this is a little bit of an unscripted question, so apologies in advance. But something that I think has come up time and time again in both cases is this kind of anxiety around greenwashing and whether or not there's legitimacy or trust within these business partners who are so essential in terms of doing it right. And any little bit of advice there that either of you guys can think of, which could be helpful for SME companies?
Yeah, look, I think once again, it's about being really honest and upfront around your messaging. And that was something that was incredibly important to us from the early days, and we made it really clear that we didn't have all the answers. So I think if you're really honest with your customers about what you are doing from a sustainability perspective and what you want to do, that's really important, and not pretending to know all the answers would be my advice. Messaging is key on all of this.
Absolutely. And Mark, any final thoughts there?
Yeah, I think it's a journey, isn't it? It's small steps, and you know, a lot of from a courier perspective, you know, you'll see that there is more of a concerted effort for, you know, fleets to be getting rid of the diesel vehicles, and you know, just trying to do small steps to try and make you know, their recyclable elements of stuff and waste. You know, it's very clear that, you know, these companies can do this stuff, and it's just doing your due diligence before you kind of jump into an agreement with them.
Absolutely. And one of the major benefits of working with partners such as Better Packaging or Starshipit is the fact that you guys have pre-vetted a lot of this and can lend that experience and expertise as well, which is absolutely fabulous.
One thing I would just say is, as a brand, if you're starting out on this journey and you don't know where to start with something small. You don't have to solve all of your problems overnight. And I think everyone gets really overwhelmed and it feels like a really massive issue that we have to solve. But I think just pick one thing, embed that, get it right, get your team on board, and then do the next thing and do that really well, rather than trying to sort of do 10 or 20 things half-baked. That would be my advice when you start out. And choosing a courier company or your packaging, they're two really easy options. Technology is a really good way as well to embed sustainability into your supply chain.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much for that. So moving on to our second question now, what I would be really interested in is a few examples of brands that are currently offering a sustainable shopping experience that will help build out customer loyalty, but will also tick a lot of those boxes. Becs, would you mind leading us on that front?
Yeah, sure. Look, we see so many brands doing so many incredible things every day. And I'll talk about a brand that is dear to my heart because it was one of our first customers, Mr. Zimmy, and they came to us looking to make their supply chains more sustainable. And like I mentioned before, they started with one item, and that was their courier satchels, and they embedded that, and they've slowly gone through their whole supply chain and just taken pieces out to do with the way they make their clothes, how they're sourcing their clothes, all of their packaging. And to me, I think that's a really neat journey to watch. Another one that both Starshipit and I share is Dish, and they're doing a similar thing. And they look at sustainability as a holistic approach. So it's not actually just about sustainable products or the environment. It's also about having a sustainable business, how you treat your suppliers, equality in the workforce. So there's a whole lot of different factors to it, and they really look at it from a holistic approach, which is really, really neat to see as well. But that's just one of many companies that inspire and delight me every day.
And just on the practical side of that as well, with you know, with these types of companies that the Becs is talking about, you know, we've got the ability to create, you know, packing slips on devices. You know, our technology allows you to be able to rather than print 1,000 packing slips to go off and pick all of your items, you can scan them off of your tablet, off of your, you know, your device. And that's just a, you know, really good kind of start. It's a small step. And, you know, a lot of the companies and the retailers that we're working with, especially over in that part of the world, over in Auckland and Australia, you know, they got really good disciplines of, you know, planting trees, you know, just keeping the whole kind of sustainability thing going along. Core values, you know, we share core values with them, and being able to automate a lot of all of the technology is a huge plus. Paperless trade and commercial invoices and all those kind of things when you're shipping internationally. In the old days, when you print a commercial invoice, you have to print 3 of them, bits of paper, and it's crazy. Now with DHL Express, with DPD, UPS, for all international shipments, they have this paperless trade option as well. And a lot of the companies that we work together on all utilize those features.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Sorry.
Go ahead,
Mark,
please.
it's not just about the 3 pieces of paper. It's about that commercial invoice plastic envelope that sticks on the box.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then it makes that box super hard to recycle as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that paperless trade has been with Starshipit for years and years and years. And I'm just surprised that more companies aren't doing it. So I think software as a service, cloud-based technology is an amazing example of sustainability in action, because it's just so much.
I completely agree. And what's remarkable is that even 5 years ago, my first e-commerce job was, for a small little D2C company that was actually selling toothpicks. So environmental issues abound. But in that space, we were dealing with ridiculous packaging and ridiculous invoicing. And I definitely remember all of those, plastic slips on the packaging. So it's incredible to hear that we have this solution. And are we seeing an uptake in people who are now taking this seriously? Obviously, we know there's a trend towards sustainability and environmentalism. Are more people jumping on board at this point?
Oh, absolutely. It's I had a customer come to me the other day and they said, our number one complaint that we have is around packaging. We need to change it. And I mean, it's sad that they had to be driven by their customer, but it really shows that the consumer makes change and determines this, and we get to vote with our wallets every day. So we're just seeing it more and more. You're being left behind if you're not looking at your sustainability in your supply chain at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's really interesting. Thank you for that context. And then moving on to our third and final question, would you guys be able to tell me, and we've already spoken about this a little bit, but perhaps a few more examples of how the Better Packaging Company and Starshipit work together to provide merchants with a more sustainable shipping offering for customers? Is there anything particular that you guys are focusing on as an initiative right now? And Mark, would you mind starting us off on this one?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's lots of different ways that you can reduce the carbon footprint. There's options, shipping options at checkout. Ship from store, avoiding bad addresses. We have a nifty autocorrect function on Starshipit where you select all of the bad addresses and it autocorrects all of them for you. So you're not going to get that toing and froing of a parcel. You're giving the customer's option on demand, postbox, pick up, drop off options. All of those can be created with the rules engine in the back end of Starshipit. So customers have got those options. And it just means the parcel is going to get delivered. It's not going to be stuck, and you're going to reduce that kind of carbon footprint with all of these different options. So yeah, it's the technology, and it's just making the technology available and communicating that when you're onboarding a customer. One of the joys of doing this job for me has been seeing the kind of the light bulb go on when you've put in a solution, and not only is it fixing a load of manual processes for a customer, it's also sustainable. It makes absolute sense. So yeah, that's my penny's worth.
No, brilliant. And Becs, same question to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we've used Starshipit from day dot. It was a no-brainer for us. And I can talk about some of the reasons. Paperless trade was a really big one, and we've touched on that, getting rid of all of those commercial invoices, getting rid of your packing slips, all of that additional packaging waste, but also the optimization, as Mark was talking about, shipping from store and working out the best place to ship a parcel from. Really, really makes it more sustainable and environmental, which is super cool. But we actually are working together on a project, which is quite neat. So Starshipit are creating their own branded packaging. So they're starting with courier satchels. So they're going to be some of the first in the UK to launch our new range, which is made out of ocean-bound plastic packaging waste. So we're working with disadvantaged communities in Southeast Asia and collecting pollution off the beaches and waterways, and we're turning that into packaging. And Starshipit are doing their own branded range and giving that out to some of their customers, which is super exciting. So we're really, really excited about that partnership.
Wow, that sounds absolutely incredible. I'm so excited. Do we have a go live date, or is that TBD?
It's hot off the press. I've got photos of them. So we're talking weeks, which is super exciting. And these guys, credit to them, they heard the idea and just loved it and wanted to get on board. So yeah, we're really thrilled. And it really is, it's what I was talking about earlier. It's that move from really thinking about making less, doing less bad and moving, which is terrible grammar, and moving towards using our businesses and packaging to do good. And it's a massive shift for us as a company. And I think it needs to be a massive shift for the world.
Absolutely. And for any of our merchants who are listening, I mean, it is such a big part of the business. We think about MarTech daily. We also need to think about the operational side of it and how we can do more. So that was really insightful. And thank you guys both so much. I think that's probably all that we have time for today. But Becs and Mark, it has been so good chatting with you both. I've enjoyed it tremendously. And for both of you, I'd be really curious as to where our listeners can go to find out more about yourselves and about your respective companies.
After you, Becs.
We're betterpackaging.com, so you can find us there. And we're also on Instagram, which is Better Packaging Co.
And yeah, Starshipit.com. You can sign up for a free trial. And as soon as you sign up, we'll call you, we'll get to know you and understand what you want to do and to achieve, and work with you to achieve those goals.
Perfect. Thank you both. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this episode of the Sustainability series. I hope you found it all valuable and have been left with some great ideas and insights. As always, we will be sharing the on-demand recording, so don't worry if you feel like you've missed anything. And last time, thank you guys so much today for being on this. We really, really appreciate it. If you have any questions for any one of our panelists here, please feel free to reach out to us on Twitter using the hashtag Sustainability series, or get in touch via the websites mentioned. And to my lovely panelists, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's great.